Hi everyone, my name is Isabel Saldani. I'm Director of Sales and Events at the Marriott San Antonio Airport. This is Sonia Pena, Sales Manager. As we're all hotelers, we just wanted to say hello, and we are here for anyone that is looking for a property to partner with in the airport area. We're not your typical airport, so definitely large, full service Marriott, 367 guest rooms with about a little over 15,000 square feet of space. So if you'd like to see, I'll be more than happy to provide a tour at any time.
Yes, and we just opened last year, April, from a full transformation. And beautiful property, lobby bar is out of this world. The culinary team is fantastic. All guest rooms have been renovated, 367. So again, for any hotels that are going to renovation, or you get a lead that says, hey, I need something just for one night or several nights over at the airport area, we got you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, well, welcome to the Visit San Antonio annual meeting. We are so happy that you are all here. Today, we are here in this TPID breakout to learn a little bit more about TPID, how to utilize it for your hotels, and some new things that we're rolling out. So we're gonna get started here. If you do not know me, I am Maggie Minozzi. I'm the Director of Market Strategy for Visit San Antonio. I am all things TPID, so if you have a TPID question, if you have an application, if you're unsure of how to utilize anything we discussed today, please feel free to reach out to me and come on up and I can give you my contact information after this as well if you don't have it. So the first thing we're going to talk about are what are the funds that we have accessible to not only the hotel but then also the convention center with regards to TPID. And what has the ROI been? So for the three types of funds that those TPID funds kind of funnel into, we've got your hotel incentive, a hosting obligation fund, and a short-term group incentive. So for the hotel incentive, many of your hotels utilize this and utilize it very, very well. It's $75,000 per year that are available to your hotel to book those short-term programs. So as long as it occurs within the next 3 years, and there's a 7-to-1 ROI, which all calculates in the application we're going to take a deeper dive into, you have this money accessible to your hotel. You just have to submit the application for it and then follow up with a post-event application. The $75,000 that is available to your hotel, it's up to that amount. So we have a community pot of money, and once that community pot of money is depleted, there's no longer funds available. So my advice, and we're going to go deeper into each one of these funds, but just keep this one as your tip you walk away from today. Use these funds sooner rather than later because you are not guaranteed that $75,000. The hosting obligation fund, these are for large-scale meetings at the convention center. So these are funds that Visit San Antonio extends to our large citywide clients. And so I'll go through that in a little bit more detail today as well so you can hear some of the groups that we've attracted to the city using these funds. And then the one that I'm sure everyone is really excited about, including our Visit San Antonio sales team, is the new short-term group incentive. So historically, we've done a short-term group incentive. Coming out of COVID, we've done one each year, but we did not do one last year. It's back this year, which is great, and we're going to go into detail because it starts today. So going through the ROI that we've received just for 2023, for the TPID hotel incentive, that's this top line right here, your hotel's booked 83,000 room nights using these funds for your hotels, which is amazing. We had an average ADR of $184. It was 11.2 ROI, and $57 million in estimated economic impact came out of these meetings from that TPID hotel incentive fund. For the hosting obligation fund, these are those citywides that take place at the convention center. We booked over 211,000 room nights with a $205 ADR, 13.5 ROI, and $129 million in estimated economic impact. So as you can see, these funds go a long way. These are just the numbers from 2023. So it's going to be amazing to see what our hotels do this year with the money that we have available. So we're going to take a deeper dive right now into that hotel incentive. By a show of hands, who uses the hotel incentive currently? Awesome. So thank you to those hotels. When I started 2 years ago, there was only about 7 or 8 hotels that really used it. We have over 150 TPID hotels. So having only 7 or 8 hotels use this fund was kind of sad because it's money that everybody has available to them. We're now up to almost 50 hotels actively using this money to book business for their hotels. I would love to see every hotel using it because it is your money. It is there for you to use. So for anyone who's unfamiliar with how to use it, you go to the SATPID website. And up at the top, you'll see hotel incentive. I think this has a pointer, but I'm not sure how to use it. So right up here, and then you click on this download. And so you'll download that application. And when you download the application, it's going to give you something that looks exactly like this. Really easy just to fill this out with your hotel information up top, your event name, the event start date and the end date, and the event decision date, and just a brief description of who you're competing against. Are you competing against a neighboring hotel? Are you competing against another city? And this just helps us for tracking purposes of how are we shifting share out of other cities or just moving it around our own city? Or are you using this to win business from a non-TPID hotel that might not be using the funds? And then just a brief description of how the funds will be used. So are you using it to offer breakfast because your hotel doesn't offer breakfast, but now you're going to offer a breakfast to these attendees? Are you using it to offset rate, food and beverage, whatever you want? Put that down there just so, again, for tracking purposes. And then just check box for which one your competition is. I have event decision date circled because this one becomes extremely important to make sure you have a date in there. So as we continue through the year, it's inevitable we will get put on a waiting list for funds. And that's because we have that $75,000, which everybody's using, but it comes out of a community pot of money, which is just a little over $1 million. So as soon as we get down to using that $1 million that we have available to us, we have to waitlist groups. When we waitlist you, it doesn't mean you're definitely not getting the funds. It just means we need to make sure that if another group has been approved, if their decision date passes or that business doesn't confirm that hotel, then we take them off and we can replace it with the next first person in on that waiting list. So don't worry if you're on the waiting list. It's inevitable. We've been on a waiting list the last 2 years. Last year, I think we started our waiting list in July. The previous year, I want to say it was about August. This year, depending on how many hotels use it, we may start it earlier, but my hope is we can get as much funding out there as possible. So the second section of the application, you're going to put down your hotel room nights. So how many total room nights is this piece of business worth to you? What's the room rate? And then it's going to calculate for you your total revenue, divide it by 7 for that request or required ROI, and it's going to give you the maximum eligible amount. And that's going to automatically dump right into here. You don't need to do the math. The application's going to do the math for you. You just put in your room nights, you put in your rate, and all the rest of the work is done for you. If this calculates a number like $50,000, and you really only need $5,000 because that's all that's required for what you're trying to book, then you can put in this second line right here, SA TPID funds requested, put $5,000 instead of the $50,000 that it's calculating and automatically pulling into there. And then it's going to be so there's an example right down here of changing that amount. Does anybody have any questions on this part? Okay. Yeah?
May come later, but the $1 million pot that you just talked about, it sounds like there's flexibility in that pot. In other words, as time passes, there's more revenue going into that, or no, you just start with $1 million?
So last year, the TPID board did vote to add funds into that fund. It really just depends on what's available. This past year, we did have additional funds we could add. I don't know for certain whether or not that'll be the same situation for this year. As of right now, it's $1 million, and there's not any anticipation of adding more funds, but that's not to say that might not happen. If it happens and we get to that point, the request will be made. It'll just be up to the TPID board on whether or not we can do it. So tips to remember when filling out these hotel incentive applications, you want to send it to the TPID email. I know that many of you know that I'm the one that usually is the reviewer of all of these. If you send it to my Visit San Antonio email, it might not get reviewed as quickly if I'm out of town or if I'm not checking it as religiously because I'm busy with a project or something. Make sure you send it to that TPID email because hopefully this year we'll have some additional eyes looking in there. Alicia used to take care of it with me. Anybody who remembers Alicia, she was my partner in crime in making sure we got all of this done. So hopefully this year we'll have another person that's actively in there looking at this as well, because with the short-term group incentive, it's going to be a lot more applications to review. 30 days prior, this is something where post-COVID we were a little bit more flexible on this because we had a lot more short-term business. Because we're getting put on waiting lists every year right now, the TPID board has asked that we adhere to all of the terms of this program, which includes making sure that 30 days prior is the closest amount of time an application is received. So if something's arriving next week, we can't accept it for TPID funds. It has to have a 30-day window before they arrive. Your decision date has to be filled out because without that decision date, I don't know when your funds go away when we get put on a waiting list. And so then there's a lot of back and forth and we're potentially holding up funds for a group that may not be confirming the city and we just don't have a decision date. So it's extremely important to put that decision date on there. It's also extremely important to confirm your booked business. So if you submit an application and they book your hotel, but you never send us an email to confirm that it's booked, when that decision date passes, if I don't hear from you within 3 days, your funds are gone. And then they're gonna move on to the next person who's on a waiting list. So please make sure that we confirm that booked business and that we're not sending a post-event application for the funds for a group that was never confirmed, because there's no guarantee that your funds are going to be there for you. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the hosting obligation fund. So this is the fund that we use at Visit San Antonio to attract business to our convention center. We have recently attracted and won some amazing pieces of business using the funds from this. So we have Cvent, which is coming to us in June of 2024. Keller Williams has given us the verbal definite. They are coming to us in 25, 26, 27, and 28, 11,000 room nights each year. This is amazing. TSAE is coming in September of 2025. They're kind of like the week coming out of Labor Day. And then IEEE Microwave, we won out of Dallas, and that is for May of 27. I think that's the week leading into Memorial Day. So impactful weeks leading in or leading out of holiday periods, and then attracting this business out of other cities where they might have been long-term clients. And so getting to kind of shift share out of our major competition, it's what these funds do to really help us move the needle and bring great, amazing big business to the city of San Antonio. Okay, you guys all ready for the short-term group incentive? Because I'm really excited for this one. So here's the overview of our incentive. We have eligible need dates, which are in 24, 25, 26, and 27. In these need periods, we're going by month. So if you remember in the past, we had like a set of dates, you had to adhere to business coming in over those dates, and that was how you got this business approved. This is months, and these need months were picked by how we're pacing for these future years. So in years where we're behind pace in 2024, the months that we need to add more room nights is February, June, July, and August, and then October and November. So as we look out further, a lot of the times it's those summer months of July through September, January as well in 25 and 27. These are those need months and those need periods. So as long as your business falls into these months, then you qualify for this program. The incentive this time is based on peak night. So 100 to 250 rooms on peak is a $3 incentive per actualized room night. So if your group is 150 rooms on peak, they'll get $3 per room night, and it'll be off the total room nights. 251 to 500 is $4, and then over 500 on peak will be a $5 incentive per room night. The application and approval and payment process is going to mirror the hotel incentive program. So what I just went through with the hotel incentive program, it's going to be very similar to that. And then payment of the incentive is going to be made directly to your hotels or the convention center if it's for rental. So this is a little bit different. In the past, we historically were paying it to the customer. We're not doing that anymore. It required collecting a W-9. Sometimes the third party didn't share information. Customer ended up not being paid, and that's not what we want to leave a customer with when they leave San Antonio, of not getting their check in a timely fashion. So we're putting it back to the hotels. You can apply for these funds and you can utilize this short-term incentive however you see fit. So if you want to offset AV, food and beverage, room rate, however you want to do it, you'll have an amount to the master account. And then that amount just goes directly on their master account. You can work it out with your finance department, how they want to do it, but they should be familiar with receiving these checks from Visit San Antonio because it's similar to how we do the hotel incentive program. So in order to qualify, we have a minimum of 100 rooms on peak over the need period. This is different from the hotel incentive in the sense that you have to have your Visit San Antonio partner involved in the business. So with the hotel incentive program, Visit San Antonio does not have to be involved in the business. For the short-term group incentive, it has to be a lead that is in our system that you're working in tandem with our team. The peak nights must be over the outlined need period. Visit San Antonio's promotion runs from October through March of 2024 or until the funds are exhausted. So for this particular fund, we have a little over $500,000 that we're working with. So depending on how much we use this, I don't know if the funds will last until March 31st, but regardless, you can put down that the funds your group is eligible for it as long as they sign their contract by March 31st. As long as you confirm to us that the business was booked by March 31st, as soon as you send that application, we're gonna start holding funds. But then your funds need to be confirmed by March 31st. All contracts have to be executed by March 31st, and then the room rebate and payout is capped at the contracted room block. In the event that the group actualizes for more room nights, you're not eligible, similar to the hotel incentive program, for anything more than what you were originally approved for. And the reason is for budgeting purposes. If they exceed what was anticipated, we're only holding a set number of funds for you, so we won't be able to pay out anything additional. When the group actualizes, if the peak night falls below the anticipated amount, then it reduces the incentive. So that window, if they were 525 rooms when you booked it, but they came in at 450 rooms, they're not a $5 per night rebate anymore. They're now a $4 per night rebate because they fell into that next range down. So just make sure that when you're selling this incentive, you're letting your guests and your clients know that this is their incentive if they hit over 500 rooms. This is their incentive if they're 450 or below. So that it is variable.
They do not qualify if it goes under 100.
They do not qualify if it goes under 100. And then groups cannot receive funds if they're receiving any funds from another TPID source. So we can't double dip. You can't do a hotel incentive for a group and a short-term group incentive. It's one or the other. If they're at the center, and they're getting TPID funds from VSA, they can't get a short-term group incentive as well.
If you manage multiple hotels, can you split, have 50 at one and 50 at another and still apply?
That's a great question. Let me get back to you on that one. If you manage multiple hotels and they have 50 rooms at one hotel and 50 on peak at another hotel, can they still apply?
What if you do it with one contract?
If you're doing it in one contract, then yes. Yeah. What properties are you with? Okay, then yes. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I make a mental note that we had this conversation. All right, so where can you find the application? So if you're looking for the TPID hotel incentive application, that is on that SA TPID website. If you're looking for this application, it is on your extranet, the VSA extranet. You will see it when you log in. You're gonna see partner bulletins. And it's gonna say FY24 short-term group incentive. Click on this, and it's gonna take you to a pop-out box that's going to have a download where you can download this application. And my contact information's there, so if you have any issues while you're downloading this and while you're working through it, feel free to reach out. So this looks very similar, correct? Try to make this as easy as possible. You're going to fill this out, same as you fill out the other application for before it's approved. What's different are the calculations here. So in box number 1, you're going to put the peak room nights. So how many on peak is this group? What's the rebate amount? So you're going to type in that number. Is it 3, is it 4, is it 5? And then you're going to put your total room nights. So what's the total number of room nights that are being contracted at your property? And it's going to calculate for you what your eligible amount is. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that if this is the post-event one, you're going to, again, fill out your peak room nights. And again, the rebate amount. If it drops, then that's a conversation you definitely want to have with your finance department as well as the clients. And then your total room nights, and then it's going to give you your total amount. So again, just a reminder, we're not going to increase the amount from if they pick up more at your hotel. That's amazing, and we're excited about that, but unfortunately we didn't budget for that, so there won't be any extra money coming your way. But if they also dropped peak room nights, then it's less money. Couple tips to remember. This application is also going to that TPID email address. One thing that I ask to make it easier on my end is to type into the subject line, short-term group incentive and your hotel name, just so that I can sort by short-term incentives and then TPID applications. Again, so important to have that decision date on there because with $500,000 in funds, they're going to go quick. And if I don't hear from you within 3 days of that decision date, then you're getting taken off and the next person's going to come on. Make sure that your VSA partner is involved in this booking with you. Confirm your business when it's booked. And again, there's no guarantee on funds because with $500,000, it's going to go quick. A couple post-event application do's and don'ts. So this will help expediting payments. Do not guarantee a client a specific amount of money. Don't do it for the hotel incentive and do not do it for especially the short-term group incentive. And the reason being is it's going to be variable. It's going to be based on how many room nights they pick up. The short-term group incentive is going to be based on how many peak nights they pick up. So both of these are absolutely open to change. So definitely do not guarantee anyone the exact amount that you got approved for. Yes? They're on our VSA website. It outlines the program and there's terms and conditions in there. So do have a plan in place with your finance department on how to handle these incentives. We've got some hotels that do an amazing, absolutely fantastic job with their finance department of making sure that they understand what needs to be done, and oftentimes will copy their finance department on that post-event application. It's up to you whether or not your finance department wants those emails and to be copied on that, but it also helps if they don't get the check for them to have a contact person of me to reach out to so we can make sure that we get that payment expedited to them. Appoint one person at your property to oversee this program. That's so important because if I have questions, I'm not always going to remember who submitted that application. We've got some properties that are great. I have a point person at those properties. And if a decision date's coming up, I can reach out to that point person and say, hey, just a heads up, you've got these 3 groups that their decision date is either very close to passing or has already passed. I need an update. And then that way they know that they're about to lose funds. If I don't have an easy person that I can reach out to, then a lot of the times I can't always get you with a little reminder. And in turn, you might lose your funds within 3 days. This thing, oh, there we go. Okay, send all requests to SATPID at visitsanantonio.com. I know I said this already, just please make sure it goes to that website or that email address. Specify the application type in the line of the email. So TPID hotel incentive and then your hotel name, or short-term group incentive and then your hotel name, or the group's name and your hotel, just so that it's easily identifiable. And then we just can't double dip, so groups can't receive funds from more than one source. And then just to kind of give you an idea of the whole workflow of this application, you're going to send that request to the SATPID at visitsanantonio.com. You're going to get an approval, typically within 3 days, a week at the most. And then your decision date needs to be listed on the application, and you need to let me know within 3 days of that decision date. Otherwise, you are not guaranteed funds. And then post-event application needs to be completed within 60 days of the departure. So if you send me a post-event application today for a group that actualized in May, it will not be paid out. We've already released those funds. Anything past 60 days, we've released those funds. Payment, typically mailed to the hotel within 6 to 8 weeks is about what it's taking right now. And that's if we need to make sure we have your W-9 on file. If you don't think we do, make sure you send it. So if it's the first time you're putting in a post-event application, just send the W-9 to be safe. And then just making sure you send it with that pickup report. If we don't have a pickup report from your hotel, it's going to delay things. I'll have to reply back and say, hey, we need this, and then gathering all the information. All right, questions? Go ahead.
Have you thought of any other incentives to do for smaller hotels that are paying TPID? But so maybe something from 55 to 50 rooms to 100. There's a lot of small hotels that pay into TPID that can't take advantage of the short term.
So I know with the hotel incentive program, our smaller hotels are really capturing a lot of business with that program. And it's a little bit more flexible because you can use it over any set of dates, and it's not just that set of dates. The goal with the short-term group incentive was to try and funnel as many room nights as possible into those need periods, and that's kind of where that 100 on peak came into play. But I would definitely say if you have groups that you want to incentivize, the flexibility of that hotel incentive plan is amazing. And I mean, as long as you send it to us 30 days out, you're almost guaranteed approval as long as there's funds available.
Yeah, two questions for you. One is, in terms of the actual funding for the hotel incentive program, how's that amount determined? I guess, how was the $1 million?
So it's an amount that's determined by the TPID board. So there's a budgeted amount every year. The TPID funds go predominantly to marketing right now. There's about, and don't quote me on the percentages, a little over 50% goes to marketing, a little under 50% goes to sales, and within that 40-something% that goes to sales, we pull money out for that incentive program. So historically, when it wasn't being used a lot, we had a gigantic surplus of funds in there. Well, there was never any funds added during COVID because we still had $4,000 or $5,000 or $5 million in there. Now we've gotten down to a smaller amount. So now we need to look at replenishing more so. This year we could allocate $1 million as we get the amount of money that's being put back into TPID based on what has been gathered. There might be more money, which is where we got more money last year, mid-year when we went on a waiting list. It's not a guarantee, but it's just, we started with $1 million. That was our budget.
I'm certain that I speak for a lot of people that we would love the board to revisit that amount, only because I know your last fiscal year, you went on a wait list like January, December. I don't remember.
It was early.
Very early. And so it's great that the program's being utilized, but if funding isn't available to use it 3/4 of your fiscal year, it's kind of, yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
So there's going to be a survey at the end of this. Please make a note in there so that your voice is heard. And that's what this survey is for. We really want. There's also additional requests from City Council that they want to utilize some of these TPID funds for things outside of hotels. So that's another thing that is part of this survey. So just let them know that you really want there to be more money into this hotel incentive. And if that's one of your requests, make sure it's just listed on that survey, because that's exactly how we're going to kind of get that information back out to not only the board but also to City Council.
Perfect. Two other quick questions is one, on the applications, now that the guidelines or program rules, I should say, are being strictly adhered to. In regards to an application, if it's submitted and that decision date passes due to unforeseen circumstances, and you don't hear from the hotel within 3 days, is the hotel able to resubmit a new application for consideration?
So if you know that your decision date is passed, I would just recommend sending an email to the SATPID email address and just state, hey, I just realized this passed. This group has not confirmed yet, but the application or the contract is still out. Here's their new decision date. As long as we're not on a wait list and your funds haven't been released, then we'll just update your decision date. So no need to submit a whole new application. Reach out first via email. Let me take a look and see if those funds have been released. The only time the funds are going to be released is if we're on a waiting list. So if you hear we're on a waiting list, be hyper vigilant to making sure your decision dates are on there and that you're responding as quickly as possible to confirm the business. Yeah.
A couple things. Do you mind putting your contact info back on?
Yeah.
there? And then I know part of the application is putting whether you're competing with TPID hotels. I assume on the website there's a list of the 150. TPID
There is
hotels.
on the SATPID website. There is. That's my email address, and I can.
Are we gonna get this presentation?
Yeah, we can email this out. I'm pretty sure they'll be posting it for all the breakouts. Yes.
On the application, when you do the start and then the decision date, sometimes it approves that it just immediately tell you that you can work right in there, so it's like a automatic guarantee that the contract's already out. Do I just put the decision date as the date that I'm submitting the application and then tell you like it's been guaranteed?
Don't do that. I would put it still like a week in advance in case anything goes back and forth. So I would still move your decision date out just a little bit, just in case it doesn't immediately confirm and sign. Although this is for new business, but I get what you're saying. Sometimes you send the response, they say, yeah, we want to book, and you already know it's going to be confirmed. If that's the case when you submit the application, let me know you have the verbal definite. And then when I reply back and say, yes, you're confirmed for this amount, just immediately reply back to me and say, this is confirmed.
You might want to repeat the question.
So the question was, if you submit an application and you know that they're going to come to you because they have already said, yep, we're signing it, everything's a done deal, then do you just put the decision date of the day you send the application? And I said, nope, just put it about a week in advance just in case something happens. But to immediately reply to my response of approval of funds so that you can say it's immediately confirmed and nothing hangs in the balance. Okay? Yes. You work for Visit San Antonio. We'll answer your questions later. Who else do we have with questions? Hang on, I'm going to go back here and then I'll come back up.
On the short-term program, do you pay on the total room nights? As long as one night is at the peak?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. The other thing is, does that money that you collect there count against your $75,000?
No. Short-term incentive is different from hotel incentive. It does not decline your balance. One other thing that wasn't in this presentation that is interesting to note for your hotels, if you're using your $75,000 for your hotel incentive, it's on the extranet how much you still have remaining. It's updated every week. My assistant usually updates it on like Thursdays. So check on Friday for your current balance.
Just one additional question. Is there a way an email can go out to, I mean, I send emails all the time, that when you hit waiting list status?
Yes.
TPID is now hit waiting list status, so that we're not submitting something and finding out at that point
Yes.
that we're at, we can already know.
Absolutely. We will send out an email this year and make sure that everybody knows when we're close to waiting list status. Okay. Who else had a question?
Does each hotel, I may have missed it, does each hotel have a specific amount available for the short-term incentive?
No, it's just one community pot of money. So when it's gone, it's gone. No? All right. So the last thing we're going to do is I need you to hold up your phones and scan this QR code. This is your TPID survey. So with this TPID survey, you're going to enter your hotel information. You're going to answer a few questions. The questions are going to be, do you currently use the hotel incentive program? If your answer is no, put your reason why. If it's that I don't understand it, I'm not sure how to calculate things, I'm not sure how this would be effective for our hotels, or just put in the box, I want Maggie to reach out to me. I am more than happy to have a one-on-one with you if it means that it'll help you to utilize this program, because I don't want anyone to leave money on the table when it comes to booking business for your properties. The other questions that are going to be on there, as I mentioned, the TPID funds currently right now are used for marketing and sales. There are questions on there on whether or not you would like to see those funds utilized for anything additional. So there are some requests to utilize TPID funds for arts and culture or other areas throughout the city. If you would like to see them used predominantly as they are now, just check the boxes for marketing and sales. If you'd like to see them utilized for anything additional, check the boxes that apply for you that you think it would be nice to utilize these funds for. Go ahead.
I would just, as general counsel for the TPIDs, state law limits the use of TPID funds for marketing and sales, so there's not as much flexibility as one might want on these funds, but just realize by state law, marketing and sales are the only two categories.
Thank you.
Saying it can't be pulled for arts?
No, except to the extent that you had a marketing of an arts event that was going to generate hotel activity. No.
All right, does anyone have any other questions? After this, we are going to head down the hall to the general session. And if you need my contact information, please stop up here and I'll be happy to give that to you.